Hello everyone and welcome to FI TV. My name is Clarence Chongo and we are here at CIELA Resort. We are at the International Convention Center where it's been Land-Linked Zambia 2025 conference. It's been a 2-day conference. We are on the last day. We are in the last few hours. I have the pleasure of sitting here with Mr. Twite Musonda, who happens to be the administration manager for ProCharter. ProCharter is a sister company to Proflight, who are very friendly territory with financial insight. We've been friends for some time now in terms of collaborating. And so I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Mr. Musonda, for joining us here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, great. So the first thing I would like to do is for you to just describe who ProCharter is for those of us that may not know or may not have been aware of this company before.
All right, so basically ProCharter is a private air charter company. Okay. It's actually Zambia's largest private air charter company. It's a sister company to Proflight, as you have already mentioned. So basically what we are in the private air charter business.
Okay.
For those that may not know, people might be wondering what's the difference between ProFlight and ProCharter. So basically on ProFlight, you basically buy a seat on an aircraft to move you from point A to point B. ProCharter, you're renting an entire aircraft.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the major distinction between the two companies. So when you come to us, you basically want to rent, for lack of a better term, an entire aircraft to take you to any destination of your choice. Another one of the differences between ourselves and ProFlight is ProFlight operates on a schedule, which is basically they have set times of the day, set days in a week in which they operate from different points of the country as well as the region, whereas for us, we basically go to where the customer wants us to take them. Okay. Obviously within predetermined areas, we can go anywhere in Zambia where there's a landing strip and an airport, and we can also fly within the region based on the capacity of our aircraft. So basically the client will tell us where they want to go, what time they'd like to leave, and the number of passengers, and then we will recommend an aircraft and give them a quotation based on that.
So basically from what you're saying, what I'm getting is if I wanted to have the private jet experience, I call ProCharter.
There you go. You've summarized it very well. Yeah. So private jet or private aircraft experience, you call ProCharter, where you're just flying at your own convenience at any time that you wish to fly to any destination within Zambia and the region.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Musonda. Now, you are the administration manager for this company. Can you just articulate for us what that means, what it entails, what your day-to-day looks like?
All right. So my job is basically administrative oversight of the company. So I'm basically the right hand to the CEO of the company. So anything to do with your statutories, making sure we're in good books with the likes of ZRA, who are also here at this event, your NAPSAs, and making sure all the fuel bills are paid, and making sure all our suppliers are taken care of at the right time, and then just overall ensuring that everything that is required for the business to function is in place. So basically the admin department, which I am the head of, basically makes sure that all the other departments are able to do or have what they require in order for them to function.
Okay.
So that's basically what my day-to-day job is.
Okay, and ensuring you take away all the compliance.
Exactly. Yeah. So we want to make sure that so tax obligations are paid on time. We want to make sure that your NAPSAs, your NEMAs, all of that sort of stuff is taken care of as required, and any other statutory requirements. Obviously, we operate in a very highly regulated industry, aviation. So you've got compliance issues with the Civil Aviation Authority and things of that nature. We just make sure that all of that is in place so that we can continue to operate safely and efficiently for our customers.
Okay, great. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. Land-Linked Zambia 2025, there's been a lot of talk about rail and roads. I've heard precious little about flying. And so have you been feeling ignored? You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, we actually earlier today we had one session where we actually had the aviation segment where we had the director of ground operations Proflight. He was actually among those that participated in that segment. So yeah, I mean, we can see, because I think every time we have these events, there will always be a central theme.
Yeah.
And that theme will sort of be the main agenda. So I think for this year, I think they wanted to focus on, as the theme says, embracing smart transport corridors.
Yeah.
So I think the interconnection between Zambia and the neighboring countries, primarily by road and by rail. And I wouldn't say we feel neglected as an industry, but I think that rail, which seems to have taken a center stage this time, I think for a long time, you will have to agree, has been very much in the back.
It's been sidelined.
Yeah, it's been sidelined for a long time. So I think aviation, we normally have on an annual basis, people are always talking about flying by air and the like. So I think we don't mind giving our sister players within the industry the limelight here and there. So basically that's
but clearly, because you're here, I'm sure it's because you feel that flights and freight, air freight, by the way, plays a critical role in any economy, and in the Zambian economy in particular. What role, how significant is that role, do you think?
To begin with, if you, hands down, it is the quickest form of transportation. Whether you compare it to rail, you compare it to sea, you compare it to road, you will not get anywhere faster than by air. From here to South Africa, 2 hours. Here to Nairobi, maybe 2.5 hours. Here to Lubumbashi, an hour. Contrast that if you're going by road, you're going by rail, you know, it will take you several hours more, you know,
or days.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You know, so and then I mean, among some of the things that have been spoken about, even just the convenience of air travel, guaranteed it will probably take you a lot quicker to get through an airport than for you to get through a border crossing. You know, so there's conveniences that are there, that exist within the air transport industry that are not yet. And I know there's a push for government and other stakeholders to see that there's that seamlessness when they are crossing by the border or these other forms of transport. But I think there's, as an aviation industry, I think we are, to brag on the industry, I think we are miles ahead in terms of the seamlessness and the interconnection between the different airports and the like. So whether it's cargo, whether it's individuals, you're going to get to your destination quicker. And then we pride ourselves for being the safest mode of transport globally. It's the safest mode of transport. I think whenever there's an aircraft accident or incident, it makes global headlines. Because it's a rarity. It's not something that happens often. Whereas every other day, you know, you hear something happened on the road here and there and the like. So I think we can't run away from that. And then just to cite, we are able to host all the SADC, ministers as well as their entourages in this manner, because all of them came here through air transport.
So you feel proud that you flew them in?
Exactly. So yes, we can talk about rail, we can talk about road, but nobody would have been here to come in, do the business of 2 to 3 days, and then go back within a short space of time if it was not for air transport. So I think it's by and large still and my take, and I'm biased to the industry because I work in it, it's the quickest way to do business. It is the safest way to do business, and I think it's a key driver in the economic growth of any country, whether you're talking about freight, whether you're talking about tourism, whether you're talking about day-to-day business, both at a government and private sector level. There's not much that can be done at quite the same pace as the way things are done in the aviation industry.
Okay, thank you. Now, I'm sure, or I hope, that regardless of the focus on railway mostly and road to a certain degree, some of the conference subjects, topics and themes were sufficiently cross-cutting to affect aviation as well. Did you find that? Were there any topics that you thought, yeah, you know, that actually relates to me as well, if any?
Yeah, I think one that comes to the top of my head, I was actually having a conversation, side conversation, after there was a talk about the Nacala corridor, which originates from Mozambique all the way up to Chipata. So I had a conversation with one of the gentlemen that's actually involved in the Nacala, and he actually mentioned that they actually have an airport right there at Nacala. So he says, yes, the highlight of it was the rail transport, but basically freight can be moved from Nacala to the likes of Lusaka and other countries within the neighboring region through that airport there. So it's not to say where there's rail, there cannot be air.
Yeah.
Or where there's road, there cannot be air. You know, and I think that's part of what was being mentioned. Even I think the head of state alluded to that in terms of cohesion and working together. We're not competing.
Exactly.
We're not saying as airlines we don't want people to use rail. All the freight should come to us. Nor are we saying that everything should not go by road, it should come to us. We're saying there's enough of the cake for all of us to be able to get a share of it. So I think we just need to find ways and means of complementing all of our efforts. We are one big industry, and I think the idea is more collaboration and less competition, and seeing where one party has an advantage, they're the ones to lead that. Where rail seems to be rail, one of the things that was said by the minister, he actually mentioned about the high cost that is involved in air travel compared to rail. So definitely rail is significantly cheaper than air travel. So if what you are looking for is, as a business, to cut cost, then rail then becomes your option. But if you are a business that is looking at quick turnaround, then obviously air becomes the mode of transport that you want to use. So I think there's something here for every different business party, depending on what your agenda is and what your goal is as a business.
And to be fair, I'm sure you agree, the idea of a corridor isn't just one transport model, but you know, a combination of all of them in a seamless solution.
Exactly. Because I mean, there will be things that will come through, whether it's the Lobido corridor that reach the port there. When you're talking about 𝗪𝗶𝘁𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗁 that cannot spend a week going by rail. They need to be flown here within 2 hours.
Absolutely.
So that's where us as the air transport come into play. So for things that maybe your metals, your minerals that are maybe too heavy to be put on an aircraft, those are better off going by rail. Exactly. So there's something for everybody, I think, as I've mentioned. So the cake is too big where nobody should feel like, oh, okay, since the conversation now is about rail, it means that for us who are in aviation, we're now on the back foot. What about all the years where the conversation was about air? How did the people who are in the rail industry feel? So I think we need to be embracing each other, and if all of us are thriving, I think it's good for the industry as a whole, it's good for the country as a whole, and it's good for the citizenry. I think there's more jobs that will be created when you have rail fully functional. There's going to be more opportunities for people doing business, and then there's various offshoots that happen as a consequence of one industry thriving. So there's benefits for all of us.
Let's talk about that cake and your slice of it, which is aviation, of course, and specifically chartered flights. How big is that business in Zambia? Okay,
so currently, off the top of my head, there should be about 6 or 7 air charter companies operating within Zambia. So it's look, it's been around for a long time, but I think it's primarily it's a niche market. Let me put it that way. So it's not a market for every other individual. There's a specific segment of the market that we target.
High net worth individuals.
Exactly. To begin with. To begin with. So you have your high earning individuals from across the globe that want to come here and experience a private aircraft experience, and they are willing to pay whatever the cost is, So that's pretty much the primary market that we target. But not only that, you do have in that segment tourists of a high value and then you also have business individuals of a high value.
Yeah.
You also have your VIPs, your VVIPs that have to move in seclusion from everybody else. So that's a key segment of our market. And then also we also have high value cargo as well that cannot afford to just move unguarded, that we also deal with. So
what would that be, like diamonds?
Well, look, I mean, without me placing a target on ProCharter's on ProCharter's back, let's just say we will meet the needs of the customer as they bring them to us. So when they come to us and basically say, this is what needs to be moved, provided all the paperwork is there, everything is clear, everything is legitimate, no problem, our door is pretty much open.
Yeah, and I can imagine that on the medical emergency side, you probably also be quite active.
Yes. That's actually true. So we do have, I'd say partners within the medical field that, medivacs, which are medical evacuations that do happen, where you have certain individuals that need to, be moved from point A to point B. At the snap of a finger. So those are also, a key segment of the market, and we do quite a number of those that do happen here and there. It's not every day, but when it needs to happen, they can always call on us. So we do provide the medevac services as well.
Okay, great.
Including we actually medevaced an elephant as well.
Wow. What a surprise.
We medevaced an elephant from one, this was maybe a year or two ago, from one game park to another. It was actually an orphaned elephant. So I think if I'm not mistaken, interesting story, but if I remember it correctly, I think the parents of the elephant either died or something along those lines.
Or rejected it.
So it was an orphan elephant. So there was a family in another game park that basically we airlifted that elephant from. So it's not only human beings and cargo, but even wildlife as well.
How I would have liked to cover that story, but unfortunately it escaped us. But one day consider a complimentary chartered flight for financial insights.
No, definitely. We'll have you at the back of our minds. I'll get your card, and then definitely you can say you're at the discussion with the head of admin. Just knock on the door, and then we'll take it up from there.
And on that very promising note, I would like to thank you for talking with us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clarence. It's been a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, ProCharter is going to look into chartering a flight for financial insight. Get to know.